Finally, the last day of the expedition arrives, and Orhan knows today will be the last time he sees this scenery. Soon, Group 10 approaches to greet him, and this time Logan seems more excited than before. Caroline mentions she'd be happy if they received a reward for their achievement. Logan asks if there's anything she wants, and Caroline confidently confirms, reminding Sophia of their earlier conversation. Sophia knows what she's talking about, but she starts to panic and decides to stay quiet. Caroline insists anyway, saying Sophia wants something from him too. Orhun asks what it is, so Sophia tries to work up the courage to say it, but she's interrupted by Selma, who asks Orhun for help. Meanwhile, some inexperienced rookies are excitedly chatting about the new heroes, claiming they've heard whispers that they'll be venturing into the dungeon's deepest reaches today. Apparently they're starting on the 92nd floor because they need to see how they work together as a new group. Orhun overhears their conversation, but it strikes him as quite odd. If they want to see how they work together, they should start on the lower floors, not the deepest parts of the dungeon. But that's not his problem anymore, so he just decides to ignore it. Meanwhile, on the 92nd floor of the Great Southern Dungeon, Oliver says it's time for the reborn hero party to have its first adventure because that loser isn't holding them back anymore. They have a new teammate now, and their goal is to clear the Great Southern Dungeon. The new enchanter thanks them for accepting her, and Derek asks her to show them what she can do. Annalie assures him she'll be fine because she's not like that all-rounder who was slowing them down. Luna remains completely silent throughout, yet Oliver thinks that even she'll grasp after this dungeon expedition that they were correct the whole time. In a scene change, we see a flashback to 2 days ago when the new enchanter introduces herself as Philly Carpenter. Oliver points out she's a skilled adventurer, having made it to the 100th floor of the Great Western Dungeon, and she'll be the group's very first true enchanter. Philly expresses gratitude for the amazing welcome party they arranged for her, and Derek declares it's time to celebrate, seeing as Orhun is no longer with them. He also mentions he was surprised to see the accounts they were managing because it turns out they had quite a bit of money. Annalie says she just doesn't get why he was so incredibly stingy since money's no good if you don't spend it. Philly, with a bit of hesitation, questions if that money wasn't for their group's activities. However, Oliver interrupts her, declaring they'd discussed Orhun enough as this was her welcome party. Everyone decides to cheer up, but just then Luna suddenly appears, saying she needs to check on something. She doesn't recognize Philly at all, yet Oliver prompts her to proceed, and Luna shares that she'd heard Orhun was headed to the Great Dungeon, joining the Night Sky Silver Rabbits. Oliver is clearly taken aback by this news, and Annalie immediately grows defensive, questioning how it was possible for him to join the Rabbits so quickly in just 3 days. Derek speculates if that good-for-nothing still believes he's S-rank, especially after being informed of his utter weakness, but Luna appears completely oblivious to the conversation. She then inquires about the events that transpired during her absence, only for Oliver to calmly instruct her to remain composed. Annalie cuts in and tells her that the all-rounder left the party 3 days ago. Oliver confirms it, and Luna feels hurt to learn that he finally abandoned them. Derek quickly interjects, remarking that she's making it seem as though they were the ones who were abandoned, but it's actually the opposite. They were the ones who dismissed that so-called all-rounder. Luna's expression changes instantly, but Oliver confirms it without any regret and introduces her to their new enchanter and Orhun's replacement. Luna calmly mentions that she wished she had made it clear she was against anyone taking Orhun's place, but Oliver tells her she has to understand that Orhun is simply not strong enough for them anymore. Luna tells him she doesn't understand any of that because Orhun is clearly the core of this party. They only made it to this point thanks to him, so they cannot progress further if he is not there. Annalie informs her that while she might view that all-rounder as someone extraordinary, the others don't share that opinion, and it's already far too late, as no amount of argument will alter the situation. Despite her obvious frustration, Luna concedes that it's indeed too late, and Oliver feels relieved that she's finally ceased her protests. Since everyone's gathered, he decides to talk about their immediate plans, as this is the first time Philly will be working with them. So in 2 days, they'll test how they work together on the 92nd floor, and if all goes well, they'll move on to the 94th floor. Luna immediately makes it clear that she's dead set against this, as she has no intention of ending up deceased. After all, even if Philly is a very skilled enchanter, they should really learn to work together on a much lower floor first. The others don't get what she's talking about, and Derek reminds her they've already reached the 93rd floor, so the 92nd floor should be a breeze. Luna reminds them there's a black dragon down there, and they barely managed to defeat it last time. Derek assures her that was because Orhun was there, and Annalie agrees, saying that without that all-rounder holding them back it'll be easy. Luna clarifies that she doesn't want them to misunderstand and warns them that the Black Dragon is far more powerful than they are. Oliver cuts her off, stating their objective is merely to observe their teamwork, thus they won't engage the dragon. Derek, however, disputes this, insisting they will indeed fight. Luna then attempts to caution them, explaining it's far too perilous to venture to those lower levels without Orhun. Oliver doesn't let her finish and clarifies that it's already been decided, so she has no right to refuse. Back in the present, they're fighting the monster on the 92nd floor, but Oliver notices his sword can't hurt it. He quickly dodges to avoid being struck by the monster, but his body begins to feel incredibly heavy. He realizes that each time his boosters dissipate, it's as if his entire body becomes burdened with immense weight, and he simply cannot continue under these conditions. Oliver asks Philly why the boosters keep vanishing, and she nervously apologizes, stating she still hasn't grasped how they all fight collectively as a team. Oliver is surprised it's taking her so much time to understand, considering Orhun had grasped everything in just about an hour on their very first day. Derek uses his shield to block the monster's attack, but he ends up being... He doesn't understand what's happening because he used to block things like this without any trouble. Annalie decides to use a fire spell to attack, but it does absolutely nothing to the monster. Her attack is so weak that even Oliver thinks she's just joking, but she assures him she's doing it just like she always does. Oliver then asks Philly to buff Annalie, but Philly informs him that she already has. He asks her to do it again, and Philly readily agrees, but Annalie's attack spells remain just as weak as ever, leaving her no other option but to withdraw from the monster. Oliver doesn't get what's going on because Philly's support magic is supposed to be much more powerful than Orkon's. The monster continues to attack them, and Derek can barely keep blocking the hits. Oliver swiftly instructs Annalie to flank the monster, but it easily detects her presence and attacks without delay. Annalie panics, having never experienced this situation before, yet Oliver holds his ground, instructing Philly to observe the monster's next attack and warn them. Philly tells him that's impossible, but Oliver reminds her that an enchanter's job is to keep an eye on everything and understand the flow of battle. Philly apologizes, saying this is all she can do right now as she casts her support magic. Annalie, without hesitation, deems her useless. Oliver, meanwhile, frantically tries to figure out their next move, given that Derek and Annalie aren't at their usual strength, and he himself is unable to channel the power of his sword today. In theory, Philly's support magic should have greatly increased their physical abilities, so he's completely perplexed as to why they are still so weak. Luna can't believe he still doesn't get it, so Oliver asks her to explain what's happened to them. Annalie is just angry that she hasn't said it already, since they're all party members and could die. Luna has no choice but to explain, but before she can reveal why they're weaker, everyone is frozen in shock as the black dragon abruptly materializes at the worst possible moment. Oliver is bewildered by the sight, as the black dragon is never supposed to venture outside the boss's designated territory. When the black dragon lands in front of them, Luna immediately tells them they have to run and get out of there. Derek stubbornly refuses and Annalie agrees, confidently saying she'll take it down. Luna warns them they can't possibly defeat it. But Oliver tells her there's no time to argue, reminding her they've already defeated it once and can do so again. Luna looks at him as if he's lost his mind, but the group attempts to fight the dragon before she can prevent them. Derek tries to block the first attack with his shield, but the impact from the dragon's fire knocks him down immediately. Luna quickly uses her magic to heal him, and Oliver asks Philly why she did not buff Derek. It was at that very moment that he noticed Philly had become utterly paralyzed by the shock and was completely unresponsive. Oliver gets even more confused, wondering why an enchanter more powerful than Orkun would react that way. Annalie, without hesitation, unleashes her fire javelin at the dragon, yet her spell fails to leave even a mark. The black dragon retaliates with its fiery breath, and though she attempts to take cover behind some rocks, the inferno incinerates them completely within a few seconds. Annalie falls defeated, and Oliver still doesn't understand what's happened to everyone. Luna warns him they need to retreat and tells him to calm down because they can't win this fight and will end up wiped out at this rate. The black dragon prepares its most powerful breath attack, so Luna asks him to buy them some time because they need to get out as soon as possible. Oliver reacts quickly and tells Philly to wake up, snapping her out of her shock. Once she finally responds, he asks her for a buff, and with that he decides to use magic convergence. Oliver gets ready to attack, but Luna tries to warn him that he needs more magic convergence. He simply tells her there's no time and attacks the black dragon with his divine flash attack. Oliver's attack clashes with the dragon's breath, creating a powerful explosion that knocks him back. However, the black dragon remains unscathed, leaving him defeated and confused. Luna quickly rushes over to check on him, but Oliver simply asks her what they should do. He's clearly distressed, yet Luna reminds him that he is indeed the leader, so it is his responsibility to decide what action they will take. She tells him to pull himself together as the dragon begins to prepare another attack, so Luna says they have no choice but to use the whimsical gate. It is a magical item specifically for emergency escapes, usable exclusively within the confines of dungeons. It can only forcibly open a link between where it's used and another location. Oliver hesitates, and Philly warns him it will transport them to a random boss area, somewhere between the dungeon's upper and lower floors. That means they'll be facing another floor boss as soon as they go through. Luna clarifies that it's still much better than fighting the black dragon since it's a boss from the deepest levels. Oliver finally makes his decision, and everyone quickly gathers around him just before he uses the magical item. As soon as the gate opens, the black dragon charges after them, blocking the path with fire. The gate suddenly expands, letting the dragon through before closing, leaving them completely safe. Everyone is left speechless, but Derek just chuckles, asserting their safety. Luna quickly admonishes him, stating that this is the absolute worst outcome imaginable. At that moment, Oliver realizes this means the black dragon has been transported to another boss area. Luna warns them that many adventurers are about to be attacked by a black dragon, completely unaware of its presence. Philly remarks that she had no clue a floor boss could even utilize a whimsical gate, but Luna informs them they must return to the guild and arrange for everyone to be forcibly teleported out. Forced teleportation, a feature of guild cards, enables one to forcefully remove someone, and that's their only option left now. Oliver hesitates because he knows they'll suffer some kind of penalty from the guild if they use forced teleportation. However, he understands this is no time to worry about that, so he decides to act. Another hits Annalie and Derek. This places Oliver in an even more challenging predicament, so he opts to await his comrades while Luna employs her healing magic on them. She tells him that after requesting the forced teleportation, they'll have to face the black dragon immediately. Oliver agrees, but Luna tells him they should alternate Philly and Orhun when they do so. He really doesn't like the idea of Orhun having to clean up his mess, but they clearly need his help right now. Derek immediately refuses to ask for help, but Luna explains that before the black dragon appeared, she was about to tell them why they were so weak. The truth is, they're exactly the same as they've always been, and nothing has changed. That revelation stuns Oliver, prompting him to ask why they're so utterly weak if even his most powerful attack, the Divine Flash, couldn't even scratch the black dragon. Luna tells them the answer is simple. It's because they don't have Orhun. He had barely done any magic convergence back there, and that's how weak Divine Flash is under those circumstances. Luna asks him if he knows what all support magic has in common, and Oliver replies that the amount a stat is increased is decided by the caster, and the time a buff lasts is decided by the receiver. An enchanter is required to recast a buff before its duration expires, and the typical lifespan of a buff is approximately 3 minutes. Philly tells him that's generally true, but their combined magical resistance is exceptionally high, which means any buff will only last for a maximum of 2 minutes on them. For Oliver, she can't maintain a buff for more than a minute. Oliver comments that he's never heard that from anyone, but Luna explains that his body makes him incompatible with any enchanter, and that Orhun did a fantastic job handling it anyway. Oliver argues that Philly should also be capable of it, given her superior talent compared to Orhun, who is clearly less potent than other enchanters. Luna clarifies that Orhun already knew that, which is why he developed several types of original magic to compensate for his limitations. All the members are shocked to hear this because they didn't think he was capable of something like that, but Luna assures them she isn't lying. Once she finishes healing them, Luna says that's all she can do for now, because they're short on time and need to hurry. The group starts running quickly, and Oliver mentions that Orhun did say something about creating original magic, but he was still much weaker than other enchanters. Luna tells him that's not true, explaining that one of the original spells he developed has the capability to amplify power by more than 50 times. Oliver is clearly surprised, and Philly insists that such a feat is impossible. She reminds them that even Selma of the Night Sky Silver Rabbit stated she could only boost it 10-fold. Luna assures her it's true, and Oliver realizes that his Divine Flash required Orhun's support magic. She promptly confirms this, stating that his Divine Flash and Annalie's offensive magic were amplified by that 50-fold surge. However, that made them arrogant, and he ceased dedicating as much effort to gathering magical energy. Had he invested more time in his magic convergence, he might have at least succeeded in knocking the black dragon from the sky. The same applies to Annalie, as she believed the attacks aided by Orhun's support magic were effective purely due to her own strength. Lately, she has only been resorting to easy mid-range spells, under the false impression that they were sufficiently powerful. She might not be able to use special spells requiring time and focus anymore. Annalie didn't know that was possible, and Derek realizes that Orhun was also supporting his defenses. Luna confirms this, stating that Orhun's unique magic also impacts both equipment and spells, meaning that when his buffs faded, their bodies shouldn't have abruptly felt any heavier than before. The three of them are surprised by this, but Luna clarifies that she said the same thing many times before, so they should have understood by now. Oliver finally acknowledges the truth, but mentions that it's too late now. Once they get out of the dungeon, many adventurers recognize them, having no idea what just happened. They're seen as heroes, but Oliver knows that nothing could be further from the truth, because they put all the adventurers inside the dungeon in danger. They have no right to be called heroes even though they defeated the Black Dragon once, but then again, he was the one who defeated it. Thus, he stubbornly holds the belief that the hero group will be perfectly fine without Orhun. Some people just don't learn, and with that, episode 4 comes